handwriting to change it, also they're able to change and open or whatever it is.
Okay. Did you hear the question?
Yeah.
Now, we can expand the question. I normally get asked the question not by the children population, but can I change my own handwriting and change my personality? There's two answers. First answer, the question that I asked, is that there's two schools of thought. The more popular, the one that I prescribe to, is that no, that it's a gestalt. If you're looking to change your personality or change a emotion that you have, then you're working on yourself. As you're working on yourself, your handwriting will change. Now, children though, I'm associated with a woman out in Denver, and she has 15 years of her life dedicated to understand how the brain works in relationship to handwriting. And she's targeted ADD, ADHD. And she's discovered that the movement of the hand modifies brain waves. So movement exercises with music, she's actually helped people. ADD, ADHD is basically, simplistically, is that the right brain is more dominant than the left brain. When a young baby is born, they're right brain, they're expansive, they're looking, life is like with no boundaries. By the age of 4, 5, or 6, most people switch over to more left brain, more controlled, more departmentalized individual, not the whole population. So some kids who go to a left brain school, which most schools are, and they're still right brain, they have a hard time dealing with the classroom. So she has found by doing movement that so being right brain, like you could say artist. So like my violin player over here, she's not right brained. So I didn't see artistic creativity in that respect. I saw more someone who looks at it as a discipline.
That's true.
But I'm not you're gonna be curious, but be curious in a second. Okay. So that this woman, Jeanette Farmer, has found by doing exercises with all ages, but basically with younger kids, she's able to strengthen left brain because there's something with the movement of the hands and the brain. Because from the 20s and 30s, where we used to have penmanship teachers, so now the 2009s, where they found that the training has gone down almost to a third of what it was 10 years ago. The kids are barely trained how to write now. So that she feels, she correlates it, that the less movement of the fingers, she correlates it with the increase of ADD, ADHD. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But she has found through her scientists that she's associated with that moving the fingers strengthens the left brain. So it doesn't weaken the right brain, but strengthens the left brain, allows the kids to function in school better.
Does she?
Did you ever come across people who can write almost identical in the right hand and the left hand?
Yeah, this lady back here. This one right here, Yehudis.
You can write almost the same with both
Yeah,
hands?
she's like, yeah, we're gonna frame her later after the
Yeah.
talk is done. Hey,
Oh, well.
but he has a curiosity. Yeah, I'm working on that.
Out of curiosity, when you started, what kind of personality?
Who you are? Nice guy. Is this your wife? Okay. Yeah?
Good thought.
I was told, I don't know if this is actually true, that left-handed people are right brain dominant. And I also remember, before my time, left-handed children in school were forced to start to write with their right hands. And my mother used to say that it made them stammer. So do you have
Could
any
be.
comments on being forced to change? They don't do this anymore. Being forced to write with your right hand. Because isn't it brain dominance?
I'm not so up on that. I do know, I've seen it talked about in my group, but I'm not so up on that.
But are left-handed people right brain dominant, do you know?
Left-handed people have a right brain dominance, but I'm not quite sure how that works, but there are different ways of them to be in control or not.
Now, our son is ambidextrous, he writes either way, either hand, and he writes really small.
Wow. So, what I like to do now, it's 8:15. I'd like to take a 10-minute break. But before we take a break, for those people who need to leave now, I just want to summarize. But I will come back in 10 minutes and go to about 8:45, 9 o'clock with about the same stuff, just expanding on it. But before we take the break, what I'd like to have, what I wanted to show you tonight is that there's a mitzvah in the Torah of love, Ahavas Yisrael, of loving a Jew like you love yourself. And it's a very hard mitzvah. It's easy to love people who are similar to you, but it's very hard to love people who are very different than you. And love is not love like between a husband and a wife or a parent and a child. That love is like respecting another person. And respecting it is to appreciate who they are. And what I'd like to have shown you tonight, a little bit, is that we're different, not because we're trying to be obnoxious and not because like we're just trying to be different, but we're really different because our personalities are different and what God gave us. What that soul that was put inside of us is uniquely different. And that's why we're different. And what you can celebrate about the person who's different than you is his difference. And appreciate that. You not necessarily have to be his best friend, but it's important for you to respect him and not hurt him. I want to thank you very much. We'll come back here in about 10 minutes and you can continue. If you don't mind moving this. All right.
Does misspelling mean anything when you make a correction?
5 points.
That's all?
All right. I asked you to write your signature. Anybody here, I mean, you're a little older than teenagers, I'm assuming, but anybody here practice your signature when you were younger?
Right before I got married. That was the last time. Marcy Gavor.
Most of us practice our signatures. And in fact, anybody's signatures sort of changed in the past 5 years?
For sure.
You got married?
No, because I didn't want people to know my last name.
Got it. Or you got the other thing. Okay. So how many people's signatures changed in the past 4 or 5 years? Now, what's the difference between your signature and your handwriting? Because most people don't practice their handwriting. What's the difference between your signature and your handwriting?
It's your identity.
Okay?
Mine's the same.
Okay, I have the same here. Anybody different? Yeah?
The difference between signature and handwriting. Signature is how do you want to put yourself out, and the handwriting how you are.
Okay. So, how about anybody really different?
Different one.
Different than your handwriting? Okay, here's different. Okay. Like my friend over here said, your signature is how you want to project to the outside world. How you want the people to know you when you first meet them. When you come into is anybody new here that's never been in this room before? So don't raise your hand because everybody will know that. Those 2 people over there are new. Okay. Don't raise. So, when you meet this person, if you see their handwriting, this person is a very thoughtful, caring person. On a quick look, I mean, there's other things, but that's what I saw quickly. But you see their signature is more like a symbol, but it's a loop. Loop, especially in the upper zone, shows some passion, especially to the intellect. But you don't have a clue who this person is. So when you meet this person, whoever this person may be, you don't know who she is, but you know she's passionate. And that's what she wants you to know. If you get to know her and hang around her for a while, you get to know that there's somebody really home, there's like a really sweet person underneath this. Now, the signature's right here. If you notice, the signature is all the way to the right side of the paper. And it's pretty similar to the handwriting. Now, when this person, when you meet her, this is who she is. She doesn't care if you like her or don't like her, she's just gonna be herself. She's a nice person, and she's also, she put her signature right here on the right side of the paper. She's moving also. She's not afraid to tackle new situations. You give her a project, she never did something, she's gonna do it. She's not afraid to go out and do something, correct? And she's real phony, right? Here's another person who's really similar. And I don't remember where I got this handwriting, but this, you're from New England, aren't you? Yeah. I knew that before. If you notice, now, how you read handwriting is that you need to look at the piece of paper and see what moves, what's like unique, what happens there. So, and then you start looking at it and see like you can put things together. If you remember, I told you that when you write up and down, it's someone who's thinking. Like, not moving quickly, but want to think before they move. Well, she's not totally up and down, but she's pretty much up and down. So it's like, she's a little cautious. Now, if you look at the size of the handwriting, it's not tiny, 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 it's not big, big, big. It's about in the middle area. So she wants to know things before she moves, before she does anything. So if you call her up and say, Masha, hey, you planning anything right now? Let's go to Michigan. She's gonna say, exactly.
Spontaneous, huh?
I guess you know her, huh? Because she has to think about it. And then, now, the next thing, look where her signature is. She doesn't want to show you that she's like a excited person, I want to go do things, or I'm hesitant to do things. I'm in the middle here. I'm willing to do things, but I gotta think about it a little bit. So you start putting a personality together, so now you have a little corner over here that you understand Marsha a little bit because of the things that we just learned. Now, if I say to Marsha, if you go to Minnesota, Michigan, you're gonna get $1 million. He's in the car and she's not so far behind him. There's a little more motivation. You ever been to Michigan?
No, but we're going.
Okay. Whose handwriting have I touched that one that I needed to touch?
Didn't touch it.
Huh?
You want to touch it? I don't know.
Didn't touch it.
You didn't touch me. It's up to
Do
you.
you want me to touch it? Okay, you can have it back.
Oh, this ought to be good. Easier.
Okay. This is a good example because it's a good example. But when you see a lot of times with teenagers,
You haven't grown up, huh?
no, she has grown up. That's why it's a good example. Because what I want to talk about is not a good example, but she doesn't do it. So you have to imagine what it looks like. So she only gave me 2 lines, but you notice they're nicely spaced. Every country has a different norm on space, individual space. But there's a general rule that if the lines smash into each other, that's a violation of space. It's one way of violating space. If the lower zone smashes into the next line, it's another violation. I'll explain differently. So, my friend over here has a nice sense of space. If you know her, she's proper. She's like, handles herself. She's not too much in your face, and that she's not too distant. She communicates well with people. She's friendly. She knows how to make friends. Teenagers, a lot. But you see it in older people also. Their lines will start coming together, smashing together. Those kids have problems with space. They'll call out in class. They won't have any ability to stop themselves. They'll say that they're ADD, ADHD. Really, they have a boundary issue. There's something going on that they have to be heard. There's some psychological need that they need to be heard or seen. There are kids who are like shy. What's the difference between shy and quiet? Shy is you think you have a problem. Quiet is just a state of being. So when a kid thinks that they're shy and they're trying to overcome shy, what's the best way of overcoming shy? Become
Wow.
really talkative. But when you become really talkative, you're really trying to talk so that you're not quiet. So they talk so much that they forget to see that the other person doesn't want to hear you anymore. So they violate spaces. So anytime lines start bumping into each other, you know you have a person who's like violating. So like we have a friend who's just like, she annoys you because she gets too close sometimes. And you look at her handwriting, you see that it's coming close together. You just know that she doesn't know how spacing doesn't, like, she's missed it for some reason. So you can have a little like mercy on her just to understand like what she's going through. She doesn't like it either. Okay.
You got Marcia, if you will, look at this one and tell me the difference between the two. You're pretty well on with Marcia.
I am?
Yeah.
Wow.
Check this one out. Yeah.
He's a crazy man and very pushy.
Yeah.
And you should listen to his words.
And she listens more to his wife
Because she's always right.
because she's always right. And you see how he's bubbly and happy and like laughing? He's laughing even like when his wife tries to make him, because you see how his lines are going up? Just a happy guy.
What she said.
Yeah, I think it is the drugs. So, I like to end with this concept. Where are my Kabbalah people? Oh, you moved. Here you are, right? Okay, here you go. Okay. In English, we have one letter, the letter F, goes through all the zones. There are 4 zones. There's the upper zone, where the L's, the F's, the H's reside, those loops. There's the lower zone, where the G's, the Y's, and today I met a girl, I never see Z's. She has 2 Z's in her last name. Jewish, thank you, actually Colombian. 2 Z's, so Z's. So we have the upper zone, we have the lower zone, we have the middle, where most of the letters reside, and we have the baseline, where the middle zone rests, and the lower zone comes up into. So, the upper zone is where the intellect is. So that's where you can start seeing how passionate someone is in the intellect. If anybody here has teenage daughters? So sometimes you'll notice that they'll write huge letters with no upper zone. Yours doesn't, but a lot do. That they're really involved in themselves today, and they don't care about much other than what's happening today. And it's all about themselves. They're emotionally into today, because the middle zone is action. So we have the upper zone that's intellect. We have the lower zone, which is emotion. Emotion can actually be libido and also financial. And we have the middle zone, which is action. So we have seichel, intellect, midos, emotion, and malchus, action, in the handwriting. And that's how we're wired. We're wired that we get a thought, the thought gets put into an emotion, and we decide what to do with it. So, The more developed we are in America, in the upper zone, the happier the parents are. So we very much inspire our kids to become intellectual thinkers. And some of our kids rebel against it because they're not thinkers, they're not intellectual. They have other positive traits. But in America, this is really important. If you go to Central and South America, anybody from there? Central and South America, the people, for the most part that I read, they're highly developed in the emotional level. Their emotional zone, the lower zone, is highly developed, but they know how to speak an emotional language. They know how to express themselves emotionally. Americans don't know how to do that. Americans, I'll prove it to you. I want you to give me 10 words as a group, are positive emotions. I don't want you to use love, happy, or joy. 10 words of positive emotion. And just raise your hand so we can count them. No, that's not, that's a thought. Pride, 1,
Glee.
2, 3, no, I said joy, can't use 2. 2,
Ardor.
who?
Ardor.
You made that up.
No, it
Love,
You
Love.
made that up.
A-R-D-O-R.
I can spell also, but what's it mean?
Love.
It means like passion, energy.
Passion, energy,
Admiration.
passion, energy, and, okay, so that's 3, okay.
Love. No, you can't.
Excitement.
4, what?
Excitement.
5,
Peace.
6, come on, come on. Come, contentment, come on, think.
Yes.
Friendship's a being, what?
Gentleness.
Gentleness. Do you see how hard it is? And when I added like a little more pressure, it got even harder. Some of you just stop, and these are the positive ones. What? Your Highness, that's your wife. Oh, kindness, okay, sorry. So, you see,